the memories that we have and the experiences that we have must be in some ways time-stamped. Certainly I can remember what I was doing just before I came on this walk, and I can remember what happened just after I got up this morning, and I know the order in which those two things happened. So given that they're not a blur in my mind and I'm not confusing which one came first, those things must be time-stamped, at least in some sort of rudimentary fashion. And similarly, I can distinguish yesterday from the day before, last year from the year before, this decade of my life from the previous decade. I can make those distinctions. So, however memories are being encoded and laid down in the fabric of my neurons, they are somehow being laid down in a way which allows them to be temporally ordered. And as I say, although I am sometimes confused about what happened when, generally I know that my memories can trail back through the days and months and years, and I know which one came first and so on. So I'm just imagining what some of the I guess fictional uses of that idea could be. And I'm thinking about surgical operations. I'm kind of imagining a world in which anaesthesis, the developments of ether and chloroform, and then onto the more sophisticated anaesthetics we have these days, those things have never been invented. There's no way in medicine of rendering the body unconscious quite that way, impervious to pain, or apparently impervious to pain and suffering. However, what has been developed in this kind of subjunctive reality of imagining is there has been developed a way of identifying the timestamps attached to particular memories, and also there's been developed a way to selectively delete particular areas of time, kind of missing time thing that aliens are supposed to be very good at. So, for example, I could delete that period of time between 8:15 and 8:45 when I was sitting with my kids having breakfast this morning. I could just delete it from my memory somehow, and there would be no trace of it. It would not have happened from my perspective. None of the sights and sounds and feelings in my body, none of that stuff would be recorded. So whether I'd experienced that as a gap, or whether I would just experience a sudden jump from 8:15 to 8:45, I don't know, but it's not terribly significant. So we have no anaesthetic, but we do have the ability to identify and delete time periods from individual memory. What that offers the opportunity to do is to carry out all the medical procedures and surgical procedures that we now carry out: open heart surgery, amputations, cosmetic procedures, all that kind of stuff. It's all still possible. But what happens in this subjunctive reality is that instead of the patient being knocked out, they're strapped to the operating table. Duct tape is put across their mouth so we can't hear them scream. The operation is carried out, the leg is sawn off, the heart is opened up and repaired, the skin of the face is lifted up, cut out, stitched back up again, silicone implants are pushed into undersized breasts. All those things happen, and all the time that's happening, the patient is wide awake, in horrific amounts of pain, massively anxious, terrifying experience all around. But immediately following the operation, or perhaps immediately following the sewing up and the administration of some kind of pain relief, the treatment is given which eradicates that period of time from the patient's memory. So they have no memory of entering the operating theatre, no memory of the horrific pain they've endured, No memory of that feeling of terror and stress whilst they watch the skin of their face being lifted off. All that is gone. One moment they're in the ward with a gangrenous leg, and the next moment, with seemingly no gap, they're in the ward with a gap where their leg used to be. Okay, so that's the scenario. What's actually happened there, I'm thinking? What is the difference between that and what's happening right now? Anaesthesia, in which the patient is removed. I think there's one way of looking at it in which the difference, the apparent difference, is illusory. Certainly, actually, just some aspect of it is possibly illusory. I know Joel Edelman, the neuroscientist who wrote, what did he write? Neural Darwinism. He's written other things as well. One of his pieces of writing is about what he calls the remembered present. The remembered present. He's writing about the experience of now, what it is to be alive and awake and in the moment that we all kind of share, I suppose. This feeling of uninterrupted, unified consciousness, which is the stamp of being awake, I suppose. He refers to that moment as the remembered present. It's something like what James refers to as William James calls the specious present, and what Edmund Husserl writes about, and what Heidegger writes about. A number of other people write about it. Varela writes about it very well. But Edelman's particular spin on it is this idea that this moment of now is an act of memory. It's a moment of simultaneous memory, if you like. The information is going in through our senses, nerve endings are firing, all that stuff's happening, and our consciousness of that is the production and the first rehearsal, if you like, of a kind of memory of that moment. So in Edelman's terms, what anaesthesia is doing, conventional anaesthesia, as we use it right now in operating theatres, is a kind of erasure of that memory. There's no visible signs of that. There is no moment of abstract horror, because there is no moment, there is no gap of time, of observable time, between the facts of their memory production and its first rehearsal, if you like. But nevertheless, what's happening there is a kind of erasure, a wiping out of memory at the moment of its construction.